Hey everyone. Oh, my headphones over here. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Let me see who's in the house today. Who do I have? My beautiful members. Cash, thank you for the $9.99, my love. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you so much for sharing this live as well. Oh my gosh, Cash, who else? Who else did I see in here? Chico, welcome. Tammy, my beautiful member. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Who else? Wim, how are you? Have we found Ellen yet? That sounds like Where's Ellen? Have y'all found Ellen yet? You guys let me know. Daddy's baby girl, welcome. Blonde Bomb, welcome. Coins, thank you so much for becoming a member, my love. Thank you, Margie, CL, all my beautiful people in the house. Love in the laundry. I do like doing laundry. I find it very relaxing. So I definitely relate to that. Sakina, welcome, welcome. Petty Dragon, Fruit, welcome. Karma, yes, everybody, come on in. And let me greet somebody here as well. Miss Diane, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by. Lord have mercy. I'm assuming everybody has watched the docuseries. Yeah, where's Ellen? Ellen. Oh, Ellen. Where are you? I don't think we're gonna find. I told y'all Ellen was a distraction. I ain't seen her no more since we went live yesterday. Hey, Tina. Ooh, this one hits close home for me too. I cried the whole time. Medical gaslighting of patients and their families are a real problem. You did the bowling, did homework. Y'all, shout out to you guys if you did your homework. We said we're going to watch this documentary. I already had people hit me up. Let me tell you what had happened. If you don't follow us on TikTok, please do. I have an account over there, and I just drop little video clips of different things that I was going to talk about, especially on the main channel. And literally, I mean, I was a little amazed. Let me see. I ain't even lying to you guys. Let me pull this TikTok app real quick. Sorry, y'all. They always want to get you with these stupid ads. I read this article on before this docuseries was released, and literally between the time that I released it, we have 27.1K views on that little video that we did over there. I've been dropping Dr. Sally's video as well, those that had watched our live about this before, letting everybody know. And then I let everybody know that we would be doing a video as well as on TikTok. So hopefully we have some people here from TikTok land, Twitter land, over here on YouTube, our house. Welcome, welcome. Vic says, I was bawling my eyes out last night watching this. I know. And we really Cape's like my dog ate my homework. All right, Cape. Ellen went somewhere else to sit. Ellen was fired, yo. Okay, we about to start this review and we're going to hit it right away. I want to shout everybody out who actually watched it. For those that are still deciding to watch it, take that as a recommendation of whether you should or shouldn't watch it, okay? However it may land with you. This video docu-series totally grabbed my attention as someone who has worked in social services systems for 10 plus years, as well as mental health, both working with children and families, parents as well, as specifically on dependency and neglect cases, as well as in the preventative side to help parents be able to not enter into a system, right? Because literally all hell can break loose when you have made into the system. This is a different monster when it comes to medical, child abuse, or any of those words that come out, because you're talking about a system that involves multiple professionals, right? So it's not just CPS you're involved in, you're also involved in with other various medical professionals that truly their opinion counts as things are progressing, right? The sad part about Take Care of Maya is because it's truly an eye opening to what happens when systems are given a lot of power, all right? And they have decision making capabilities over your family, your parenting, the way in which you do things, right? I very much am an advocate for, I do believe that social services are important, just like prosecutors are important, just like defense attorneys are important. All of these are important, right? We need to have all these in our society in order to have a balance. Otherwise, you kind of have to wonder what happens in cases where, like, say the other day, you had the man from Ohio who shot his 3 kids, right? Execution style. This is why systems are important to prevent, regulate, and incarcerate if necessary. But there are times when such systems overstep and do a little too much, and they are way up on their ass about who is the actual expert here. Let me be very clear. You, as a parent, as a guardian, you're the expert of your child. Don't ever forget that. If you find yourself in a situation like this, you are the expert. Keep that in mind. And I think that that is something that was resonating with me, because people can come into your life and try to dictate a value system or whatever, or a way in which you want to do. Like, there's people out there that do that. But the reality is that you, as a parent, you're the expert of your child. You're the expert of your home, and you're the expert of your community and your culture and whatever you do. And whoever enters that space is there either momentarily or for such and such reason, right? Thank you, thank you. I had to fight for my daughter due to her brain injury. I could easily be one of these parents. Absolutely. I think of my mom and how she had a very sick child before my first heart surgery, many hospital trips. I'm so sorry. If social services are not adequately funded, there's no way they can or will do a good job, says Patricia. Shout out to you. Man, because of the system failed the 4-year-old here, then in Florida, one doctor lying on parents saying they abuse their kids. Shit is wicked out here. I would agree. Posh Peach says, hopefully this film will be nominated for an Oscar so that this issue will get more publicity for not only rare physical diseases, but also what people go through who have them. Thank you, Posh. Thank you. Thank you. Look, we start this video, right? The documentary starts by kind of giving us an insight of how the Kowalski's life was turned a little bit upside, well, was turned upside down, right? We learned a little bit about Beata being this Polish woman who, was very determined, okay? Getting herself through school. She was so determined. You have, and I, this one thing I related to Beata is for those that are first generation, or for those that have parents that are not American, right? and you're coming into a system that is like, you know that it's going to be progressive, and you know that getting an education is important, and it's the way in which values are set up, right? I think one thing I related and resonated with her is that she possessed the spirit of don't give up. Giving up is not in your vocabulary. And that was Beata for me. I was like, yeah, I'm a go-getter too. If you watch that and if you have that spirit, that go-getter spirit, you don't give up. It doesn't matter if the teacher tells you you're never going to graduate or you're not going to learn English or whatever. I mean, I was a kid that didn't learn how to read until like way later, right? With my own disabilities. So that resonated with me. I understood how um how that might have been for her. She meets her husband, okay? And this family of 4 truly is one, like you could see that there was definitely a lot of love. They had a hard time having their first child being Maya, okay? And then the second child comes in, Kyle, kind of like, an accident, so to speak, but a blessing, that type of deal. Beata becomes a nurse, an infusion nurse, right? Well, very well skilled in her position. She's a note taker. She documents. She does everything to a T, right? Because that's what nurses do. You document. And they start noticing that young Maya starts having this pain. Dad is a retired firefighter. Okay, so you can imagine the years of services. This is a family that I would probably say a hardworking family, right? Middle class family, doing their thing, retired, having their kids, kind of living their life. Maya gets sick. They take her to a specialist by Dr. Kirkpatrick, right? And there's hospital trips that are happening. And Beata very early on starts recording these hospital trips, everything that was going on, the treatment. You could see Maya's feet are turning inward, and you're noticing, and it's being described that there's a burning sensation when she's feeling this pain, right? This young little child, which I'm just like, another thing that stood out to me as well is we don't ever really pay attention to pain. Like if it's not happening to you, you clearly can't relate to you, right? Like you can't relate to it. When people describe how much pain they're in, it feels like fire, it feels like needles. I have a member in my family that struggles with pain and pain management for their medical condition, right? And I could tell you that there are times that as an outsider not feeling that pain, but seeing them go through that pain, there have been times where I've been frustrated about how they've described that pain. You know what I'm saying? Yes. 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 Thank you. Sadly, as a patient, sometimes when you document your issues, it can work against you. And that was the case in here. But I'm thinking in my mind, like, people that talk about how they're in this pain, this unimaginable pain, and you're just kind of watching them. And I would imagine, because and now this is where I feel a little jaded, and I feel a little like cynical, and I'm okay admitting that I can be jaded and cynical about situations. I'm okay with that. I'll admit it. I'll be like, damn, like I really can't relate to this. Let me check out. Here you go, back having this pain, this undescribable pain. And then you're going through all these doctor's appointments. Then you're going through all these medications. The problem is here is that Maya's just a kid. You know what I'm saying? She's just a child. And so either medical professionals are going to take to account what she's actually feeling, or they're going to ignore it, or they're going to be like, this is just a child. There was a specific recording where Maya was sitting there and they're talking about, children in pain, and how, when they're describing certain symptoms, like whether they can't breathe, you're kind of having to decipher what is reality and what isn't. How much of it is psychological? That is a huge responsibility to leave to a parent or anybody that's not necessarily feeling that pain, right? So That was a huge thing for me when I was watching some of that. Cape says, Rabbit is a nurse and now disabled. The nerve pain is sickening. People suffer in pain and it's not right to question them. It is what they say. Exactly, Cape. And I am guilty. Like I felt guilty about those people that I have questioned about their pain because I don't feel it. You know what I'm saying? And I can admit, like, damn, I've messed up when somebody has said that they're in pain and I'm thinking in my mind, well, the stereotypes of what pain looks like now. That's on an adult. Imagine on a child, right? Dad describes this as like Maya being up late at night crying and crying and, kind of not necessarily being able to understand what's going on. They're taking her, to all these medical facilities. They meet a doctor by the name of Dr. Kirkpatrick, right? Who is a specialist on kind of the pain management side. And they're going through these treatments. They're having these meetings and whatnot. Dr. Kirkpatrick tells the family, there's a way. There's a facility in Mexico where you could definitely treat some of this. You know what I'm saying? You can go in there and treat it, and because they do and it's ketamine treatment in such high dosages, right? And so, of course, that's flying out to Mexico. Think of the expense. I wonder how much of that insurance covered. Think of that one too, right? Um, and so you're going through this ketamine, what they call a ketamine coma, because there's so much high dosage of this treatment. But based on this treatment, it's going to cure pain. At this point, she already had they were already kind of going back and forth with this CRP diagnosis, the complex regional pain syndrome. And I had to write it down because I was like, oh my gosh, like this is a huge one, right? And so then that in itself is described that it's mainly a diagnosis that's done to, girls specifically. There's I guess, a huge percentage where girls are shown to kind of show this diagnosis? You do? Oh my god, Felony Melanie, shout out to you. I have CRPS. Posh says CRPS is known as the S disease and is at the top of the McGill pain scale, higher than amputation, labor pain, and some cancer. Are you serious? Wow. Wow. Yes, it's Kirkpatrick, not Kendrick. Cash. Yes, a ketamine coma would essentially help that situation. I am no medical expert, right? So please keep that in mind. What I find interesting about this is that I was thinking about this. I said, wait a minute. A strength of this family is that hey, they had the finances. They had the finances to fly over to Mexico, get their child the treatment that was necessary and needed, right? Get on a plane, fly down there, stay down there however many weeks for this treatment. It sounded like very intense. Do this ketamine coma, okay? And all of this is being filmed and documented by Beata. Notes from the first appointment to everything was going on, right? So they're documenting this situation. The ketamine coma goes well. There were, of course, side effects, hallucinations. You could hear Maya talking about some of these hallucinations and different things that were happening. But mom was right there by her side, and everyone was right next to her. This was a tight knit family. They come back home. It takes about a year, okay, but it sounds like everything's good. She's still having follow up with Dr. Kirk Kilpatrick, right? But also another doctor for continued care by the name of Dr. Hannah. So if you can imagine, this was like a care team for Maya. In I would put it that way, right? You have your doctor that you go to, and then there's another maybe referral and whatnot that you have. So this is like a care team that the family had developed. That's a strength. Okay. Families taking care of their child's medical problems. This isn't a family that you would say, oh my gosh, they need this or no, they're doing it on their own. Okay. Of course, they're paying out of pocket for these expenses. They're following up with medical recommendations. Okay. Strength, 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 right? And then the hurricanes hit. And that's when the relapse happened, right? Maya starts experiencing all of these, symptoms and pain and whatnot back to it again, right? There they go back going to the hospital. Both of these parents, I could definitely see, were very invested in making sure that their child was getting the necessary treatment that was needed. I would imagine the frustration that Beata felt. Number one, having to repeat and tell the story about how their child has this medical pain that is going on and that she needs this level of dosage of ketamine, right? And you're telling this to a new care team, new doctors. They end up probably maybe have seen your child once or twice, they don't really know, but it's new. Okay. They're hearing all of this and they're kind of watching Beata. And I would imagine, because Beata's Polish too, that there's a cultural thing happening here. That's Mama Bear. And whether you like her language or not, or how she speaks or projects, there's a problem. Because when you go to a hospital, and some of you guys can relate to this is what I picked up on. They are the experts, not you. You're bringing your child there to get treatment. I don't care. This is what I'm seeing as the hospital, that you've gone to Monterrey, Mexico to get this treatment. This is new to us, so we're going to treat it like new to us. We got this. And I would have felt the frustration too if I had a nurse or a doctor try to, you know, uh, explain to me, right? Medically explain to me certain things where I have been going through this with my child. And I will get as aggressive. And that was the thing. I don't know if how you guys picked this up, but what is it about? This has always been the theme when it comes to these systems. People interpret your language as aggressive versus advocacy for yourself, whether it lands well or it doesn't land well for yourself. If I'm up there and I'm telling you that that is going to save my child's life and help them with the pain, and I might say some bad words, this bitch, yada yada yada, wada wada wada, you're right. I'm very aggressive because my advocacy level to help my child who's in pain is high. I'm a mama bear. I'm gonna fight. I don't care what MD, RN, whatever, what social worker, I don't give a crap. I'm high right here. And in this documentation, these doctors are capturing this and they're like, Lord have mercy, let me get my pen. Mom seems to be aggressive. Mom seems to be very aggressive about yada yada yada. Mom is invested and yada yada yada. And they're just capturing these notes, right? And instead of paying attention to the child who's the one who's in pain, y'all are paying attention to how aggressive these parents are when they're advocating for their kids. Let me look at these comments. My friend had that treatment in Boston, bowling with cotton balls. Yes, the pressure change really makes things worse. I say whatever, smoke. Smoke them if you got them. Oh Lord. First time I've heard of CPRS. It's CRPS, Cash. We're watching this dog. Ketamine comas, never heard of. I didn't know about a ketamine coma as well. Cape says, Rabbit, that's true. Even if we are trained, we're still their patient, not staff. We need to learn to communicate better to break down communication barriers. And I think also people confuse, I was thinking about this too. It's like people confuse, I'm thinking this lady is Polish, right? So how when you're in distress, right? And you're your child's advocate, you're just kind of going in there and then you have this medical training in your background. She's a registered nurse, right? So that wasn't even taken as a value. That right there really got to me, that I was like, yeah, she's going to be aggressive, but I don't give a shit if she's aggressive. I'm going to pay attention to what she's saying, what videos have been documented, who are these doctors. This is one thing I had a question about. Did any of these fucking hospitals, John Hopkins, who else? Dr. Sally, all these professionals, did they ever like pick up a phone and call any of her medical team? Did they call Monterrey? Did they call anybody to determine, like, wait a minute, like, why are you, like, you're prescribing this medication in such high dosage? But if this child's already been through it before, clearly the parents know those risk factors, right? And maybe if they didn't want to do it in their hospital, maybe they could have set up the helicopter or something to maybe take this child where she needed to go to receive that treatment. Why are we acting brand new? Yeah, you would think as an RN they would respect her more, but that is crazy BS. And that is one thing that I picked up on is that it did not matter whether it was a firefighter, an RN, a medical staff, whatever it was. So is your child in there. It was like things were going to go bad no matter what. No matter what. Let me look at this real quick. I have words with doctors in emergencies. It's horrible to shut the parents down because they have more answers in the complaints if they're willing to listen. Absolutely. Most doctors and medical professionals don't even know or understand what CRPS is, sadly. Hopefully, this documentary will bring some awareness to that disease. Absolutely. Hey, Infamous, welcome, welcome. Let's see who else. Exactly. They did not listen to her, and she's trained in the field and witnessed her child distress. So pay attention to what they need to say. Man, when I was going through my woman problems, I literally had to go through 5 doctors before I found the right one who actually found out what was going on with me. One doctor just had me keep calling them back. I'm so sorry. Typo. I had befriended a woman from Turkey, and we had to use Google Translate, but her language sounds very aggressively. She's mad all the time, but she wasn't saying anything aggressive at all. It's the "you don't work here" bad attitude. Why are we acting brand new? Thank you. Jen, thank you. Why are we acting brand new? Right? But there is this, I'm just gonna be honest with you, especially in the medical field, I notice this a lot. There is this like I'm the expert, or especially now, this is not a dig, but it's a dig, right? I remember when I used to supervise social workers, um, that like when you're a social worker and you have kids, you know what it's like to have children, right? There's extra education, especially like for your colleagues that don't have children. It doesn't take away from their specialty. It just means that you're just going to have to slow down a little bit, right? If you've never experienced being up late at 3, 4 in the morning with a sick child, okay, and then feeling like, oh my God, like I got to go to work the next day, or I have to set up daycare and I have nobody to watch my child, or there's toys everywhere. If you've never really lived that life, it is so hard to train or express that to somebody. And that's how I see it in this medical field. That it's like you're wearing this medical hat, right? And you have the power that whatever recommendation, just like Dr. Sally, whatever recommendation she gave, if she said it was child abuse, by God, that's what it was. And you have the power, a social worker, any of these professionals, they have the power to literally destroy someone's life if you're not careful in the recommendations that you give. This is why such fields have high turnover. I'm telling you, I used to be on the phone and people would cuss the fuck out of me. I used to take it. I wasn't going to reciprocate because you would have to imagine that that is the worst day of their life right now, right? So I could take it and then come back and evaluate. I had to learn. This is why I don't take a lot of stuff very personal. I had to learn how not to take some of this stuff very personal. But it does happen. There's decisions that you have to make. So you have to understand doctors, social workers, nurses, pediatricians, they have huge weight and power over the decisions that are being made on these kids' life, on your family. So yes. Yes, I would agree with that one. I would agree. My daughter is 33. When she was 12, she was in pain because and became ill, and doctors would listen. She ended up with internal bleeding from ovaries. Now I will never see. Oh my God. I'm so sorry, Patricia. That is horrible. Horrible. So, all right. So Maya's taken to the hospital, right? In Pinellas County, and they're noticing how aggressive, they're writing down these social, notes on these hospital. They're just like, Mom is being very aggressive. Mom is, and we're noticing the theme here. And then suddenly the red flags become, why is this mom pushing ketamine in such high dosage, right? Why is she pushing this? Why is she doing this, right? And so then immediately this idea that Munchausen by proxy is coming in, right? Essentially, and for those that don't understand, and I don't want to give you a backwards definition, some of us understand what that looks like and some of us don't. I don't believe that the DSM, okay, is necessarily. I think they called it fictitious disorder imposed by another. If there's been a new update to the DSM, I don't believe Munchausen by proxy is a name for it now. But for those that don't understand, it's a psychological disorder that essentially follows with attention-seeking behavior, okay, by the caregiver, and it's typically those that they're taking care of, could be a child, could be an adult, could be something. um and what they're doing is that the person is just basically tries to gain attention by making the other person sick, or seeking medical, you know, attention for that person. They tend to make up symptoms, exaggerate symptoms. One of the key markers on this is that, you know, and this is what I was looking for as well. I was looking for because typically if somebody is diagnosed with that diagnosis, and say it's a there's two parents in that household, and then there's two children, right? Mom, if mom was having this diagnosis, there's usually kind of this behavior track record of it, right? They're visiting various facilities, getting different diagnoses, various prescriptions, different things are happening. That's kind of one of the flags. Okay. Once the child is admitted to the hospital, or once the child is kind of getting the care that they need, typically they are, they turn their attention to, say, another child. In this whole documentary, I never heard Kyle was sick once, not once. Did anybody here, if you watched it, did anybody hear about Kyle being sick? Uh-huh. Yep. Yes, yes, Eva, we just talked about that. Did anyone ever think that English was her second language? This is what I was saying. And some of the aggressions was an interpretation of her speech pattern. Yes, Eva. Eva, yes. Yes, that's exactly what my point was on this one. As far as the cultural piece, that people were picking her up as being aggressive when really she was just advocating and English was her second language. That's where I was going with that one. I'm so glad you said that. But I was thinking, I was like, yo, she had 2 kids, right? And if Maya was getting all this care, typically somebody who's been like, who has that Munchausen by proxy, if there's another child in the mix, the other child is going to also present the same type of sickness patterns that the first child who's in the hospital getting the care. Even, and this is crazy to me. So Maya is in the hospital, right? They're running around saying Munchausen by proxy. And I'm just thinking in my mind, why, right? Is it because they felt like, well, we're just giving her this treatment, therefore she's getting better, and we're supervising her? Could be, could be. They literally denied contact with Beata and Maya for like 3 months. Some of it was over the phone. She couldn't see her child. She's been taking care of this child. She's like the best advocate, right? She's over here doing different things. I'm not seeing Kyle getting sick with anything. If this woman had Munchausen, who Did anybody actually go in there and do an assessment to determine if Kyle was also being sick? Why are we caring for one child and not the other? Anybody like, did anybody think of that one? When I was thinking about this, I said, wait a minute. If this woman is Munchausen by proxy, which is that psychological disorder, right? That she needs to make somebody sick. Why would Kyle be exonerated from that? Why, if this was true, why wouldn't Beata move to Kyle? That's because this woman didn't have that. She followed through these orders, okay, to do a site after the shelter hearing, okay, because there's a shelter hearing and they talk about different things. And the judge is listening, but this is what judges do in such court hearings, independency and neglect. Yes, they listen to the child and the parent, they want to, but they're mainly listening to these professionals, that they're the ones that are running the show. The judge is just presiding over the case. The magistrate, the judge, whatever, they're literally just trying to get the information and capture this information and make a decision based on this information. It does not, he's not going to sit there and talk to Beata. He's not. Give me 1 sec, you guys. Privatization of child welfare hospital is a motivation for these situations. Pinellas County is well known for stealing children and families, says Serenity. Privatization, which by those that don't understand what that means, it's a, and this is literally from the, you guys can pull this up, but this is the Child Welfare Information Gateway. This is where a lot of us get our information from. As a reform strategy, many states and local public child welfare agencies have contracted with private agencies for some of their services. I knew about these contracts because I used to authorize a lot of them, actually, at one point in my career. There are performance implemented contracts that can be done. A psychologist, I give you guys an idea, right? But when the state orders, when the judge tells, let's just say this situation, if the judge told Beata, you're going to do a psychological evaluation to determine if you have Munchausen by proxy, okay? There's an authorization that happens for so many hours. Okay, it's authorized. The county, the agency pays for it, right? Because they have custody of this child, they do that. And so then Beata goes and does the evaluation. All right. And typically, I mean, an evaluation can go anywhere from $6,000, $8,000 for a 10-hour psychological evaluation for the doctor. He gets paid $8,000. This is just a ballpark estimate of what a psych eval costs. So let's just say for this situation, Beata went and she actually did the eval. The evaluation, the doctor that the agency hired said that this woman doesn't have Munchausen by proxy. That right there should have been the flag for CPS to have said, all right, we paid our professional, and therefore we need to stop our supervision of this family at this point, because the professional that we paid, ballpark guesstimate, $7,000 or $8,000 to for a 10-hour psych eval, whatever it may be, said that this woman does not have Munchausen by proxy. Therefore, that's not a diagnosis that she has. Also, no, Kyle isn't presenting any sickness, right? Because Beata's not making her children sick on purpose, right? She could have made her child, her husband sick at the time, but she wasn't. That should have been the red flag to have said that we're done. We don't need to supervise. We need to close our case and be done. Okay? That's it. We're done. But it kept going. It kept going. That's not what I mean. One physically ill child turned into 2 patients and a death. I'm confused, Bowling. Let me know what you mean. Nebula says, when the chief medical officer for the UK told everyone the nasty virus is coming, our government had parties, cake and alcohol. Funny world, hey? So I did. You had, and this is the crazy part, yo. This is the crazy part. You had a let me remove this real quick and show you guys another one. Another little article over here that I have. This is what took me out. There was a social worker that was supervising the contact between Beata and Maya. That social worker was jailed. How the hell she's still able to work in the field, I don't know. 2 mental health workers are jailed. They're accused of holding down a 10-year-old boy and covering his face with a towel. She was, what was her name? Wasn't it Kathy Beatty? Catherine Beatty, who at the time was the manager. And let me read this article. This is literally from the Tampa Bay. It's the same agency that was employing Dr. Sally. All right? Yes. Yes. Someone felt it was right when they didn't have a clue. Yep. Yep. So so here's the crazy part, Callie. This is the crazy part. The woman that was supervising I think she's an LCSW, the MSW LCSW lady, social worker. She was supervising these calls with Beata and Maya, and redirect mom. I felt like somebody was grabbing my teeth when I was hearing her, mom, redirect, redirect. She's asking her, this is can she be quiet? This is my time with you, Maya. Redirect, mom. Mom, you need to redirect. Redirect. I said, so, where's she at? Where's she at? Let me go. Let me go. Redirect, mom. She's supervising this contact, right? That social worker had been jailed before. Dad had done some research and he was like, Google, pulls up Kathy's name and shows that she had a record. She had been in jail for holding down this child at this facility. This Suncoast Center for Community Health was the center that was essentially contracted by CPS as well as Dr. Sally. All these people, right? I just want to know how somebody that's been jailed for this is still able to practice in Florida. Like, what is the standard for? I'm sorry, I have an MSW. I'm a social worker, right? I have an MSW. You can't do that. Anything that takes you to jail, you better believe that ends your career. You know what I'm saying? So how does this happen? How does somebody not say something? How is somebody still employed under that? How are you? CPS has their own. So let's just say it this way. Like Suncoast is an institution, right? I don't even know if that's really the case. I honestly think that they allowed it to happen. It does happen. It does happen. A senator tried to out what happened in CPS, and she was killed the next day. Oh, Lord have mercy, Jen. She had you screaming on your TV. My housemate thought I was fighting with somebody, says Sakina. Look, we go talk about Dr. Sally before I head out because I got to show you guys some stuff. I didn't know about all this, but as I was searching and preparing for this docuseries or this documentary to come out, I was like, I got to prepare because I knew this was going to be something that people were going to talk about, right? Um, if as a social worker, if you harm, like if you have a license and you harm, people in your license, that's going to be public record. That's something that people can dig up, right? Um, that's not a secret. So this right here that the Tampa wrote an article, whatever, I mean, that's all of it is public information. What is really concerning to me is why was Kathy, or not Kathy, yeah, Kathy Beatty still being paid by or contracted with by CPS or Suncoast, whatever these centers are called. Why were they still in their contracts if they had this in their background? That's like hiring a sex offender to watch your kids. Same, same. Would you hire a sex offender to watch your kids? Stupid question, but it's the truth, right? It's the same. So let me show y'all something else. This is happening, right? And so her contact is being supervised and whatnot. The sad part about this whole story, right? I think that this is important. That it took 3 months, three months, right? 3 months for everybody to kind of spiral. This family was spiraling out of control, right? The foundation of it was you had officers that were interviewing the husband, waiting for him to turn on the wife to say, yes, it's Munchausen by proxy. Dr. Sally over here with her, it's Munchausen by proxy, giving her diagnosis. You had Dr. Kirkpatrick calling and saying, listen, Dr. Sally, like this is CRPS. Okay, this is very specific. No, she was ready to call it. It's child abuse. It is what it. This is what it is. When Maya had a team of medical staff helping, right? She had it whether you liked it or not. She did. In 3 months, I think Beata kind of saw this whole situation just turn, where it's like her husband is being put to choose. They're having these arguments. She's recording these arguments that they're having. Husband is feeling like I can't even give my wife updates about how Maya is doing because then I won't have any contact with Maya. Then, and now husband's feeling some type of way about Beata too. They go to this court hearing and she was hoping to hear there's this psychological evaluation that was had that says she has no Munchausen by proxy. She's thinking, finally, I'm going to see my child. And the judge doesn't allow her that. Beata commits suicide. She hung herself. She wrote an email to all of these responsible parties, letting them know like what they've done, what they've destroyed, and how she's seen as a criminal, right? And it's sad all around because, Maya is now, this has been 5 years later, and she's now given her perspective. And now she's got this trauma with medical staff. Now, she's gone through recovery with this diagnosis and trying to come to terms with it as well, right? But the biggest part is like, she ain't got no mom. This didn't have to happen this way. It really didn't. In the investigation of all of this, they're finding out that there's more families, that Suncoast, Dr. Sally, CPS, John Hopkins Medical Facility, all these people, the hospital, all these people have had their hands in. Okay. I was looking further into this. I didn't know this. And some of you guys, I shared it on the Discord for those. This is from Black Enterprise. And this was literally, what was it? 2 years ago. By the way, this is Dr. Sally right here. It says petition circulating to fire Dr. Sally Smith for her history of facilitating medical kidnapping of children. I don't know if you guys know who this woman is right here. She was a former American Idol. Right there. She found herself in this situation along with so many other families. Yesha Mercado, she was a former American Idol. She was a contestant. This happened to her too. I couldn't help but wonder, and this is just my digging and digging more into the story and Dr. Sally. I couldn't help but wonder, I said, look, it, and I have to say this, and some of you guys might not like that I'm going to say this, but I'm going to say this anyways. I think it's great that it was through Maya's story that we're finding out about all of these families with Pinella County and whatnot. Through Maya's story. Keep that in mind, right? But how many black and brown, my brown brothers and sisters, my black brothers and sisters, right? How many of them that didn't have a resource or a platform to tell their story has this happened to, and their families have been broken, right, by this system that has been set up this way? I can't help but wonder, because this is Maya. She's been, pioneering this information through Netflix, which is great, fantastic. It destroyed a family. But if this has been happening for years, why did it have to wait for Maya? Why didn't it happen when the other families were going through it? It's the truth. I put this up on TikTok. This was the video. I had played this video before. This is Dr. Sally in one of her trainings, okay? And listen how she refers to families that have had multiple referrals into the child welfare hotline. Just listen.
There will be drug abuse and alcohol abuse in the family, in households where there are victims of child abuse. Disability is a risk factor. In Florida, prior report to the child abuse hotline is a very high risk factor. It's worse than many other parts of the country, and it's complicated, but we see over and over again children who are reported to the hotline, and sure, there are people who are wrongly accused, but I don't know, anybody show of hands in the room, anybody had 10 reports to the child abuse hotline regarding their family? So, once, yeah, maybe that was just a fluke, but, over and over and over again, and then they keep coming up with there's no findings, doesn't make any sense. One of the things we have to really keep in mind is that the primary problem with child abuse is that the person who has abused the child is full-on lying about what happened. And we have to remember that what we're being told is the history is a bunch of baloney, and it's our job to figure that out. So again, in the history, and this is a little different because many of these children, they're young children, and so they can't give their own history. So we're getting history from the caretakers. And again, keep in mind that they're usually lying. So we have to ask lots of questions to trip them up. Most of the time they've thought of the main lie, but they haven't thought of all the details. So if you keep asking questions, the story falls apart. And so that is where we get this idea of sort of inconsistent details, different details provided by different caretakers when they're interviewed separately. If we keep going backwards, then we often get information in terms of what was going on leading up to this injury that the child sustained. When in a child who's brain dead was the last time that they were up and running around and playing, because that tells you that at that point, this injury had not occurred. So we can narrow down the timing of the injury and the perpetrator and things like that by asking a detailed history. So these are just other kinds of questions that we would ask. We can, again, get a little bit of an idea, just like asking women how they settle arguments. what's discipline at your house? Now, a lot of these children who have had DCF come to their home multiple times are pretty savvy with this, and they talk about timeout, and they say, "Oh no, I never get hit," and things like that. Well, the younger ones sometimes are, out of the mouths of babes come great information sometimes. So, most of the time the older kids have been well coached, but the little kids can't keep the story together if you keep asking questions. So we want to look and see if the explanation is consistent with the injury. Are there any really objective witnesses? And is what we're being told consistent with the child's age and developmental level? It's likely that
Our job is not to first of all, our job is not to ask questions to see if a parent is going to trip up about the events of what is happening with their child. Our job is to use logic and strength-based tools, preventative measures. The system is not meant to raise kids. We're not supposed to. None of us. No, no. Kids aren't supposed to age out of the system. This woman has divided so many families based on her backwards thinking. 10 referrals to the hotline on a family. Every referral, every situation is different. Every situation is different. But I would imagine that she's probably being paid a hefty amount to make the recommendations that she's making. So, with this documentary, they're taking on the hospital. I believe they have settled with Dr. Sally and Suncoast, but they're wanting to take this on, and I believe they're going to trial on September 11th uh, to bring some attention to what happened to Beata. And not just Beata, but the majority of all the families. There's so many families. One of them, and I played this when we were the very first live we did about this topic. We talked a little bit about this because one of the families that Dr. Sally impacted, it was a huge impact to this family, right? I mean, like all of them, but she said that every year she writes a Christmas card to Dr. Sally, reminding her of the impact that she had on her family and what she did and what she had diagnosed her son and how it wasn't child abuse and how her son is doing well and how this. And the slap on the face, I think, was the one year that she responded back very callously saying, "Well, I guess I really need to pay attention to the gray areas. I'm glad that your child wasn't abused." Like, why is this bitch still employed? I'm sorry. I had to say it the way I had to say. Why is she still employed? That's not my community, but it very much concerns me as a professional, as those that, it does. Because she could be working anywhere. She can work in your community. She can leave that community and come to your community. This can happen to anybody. That's the thing. Uh, CPS, any of your children can go to the hospital. This can happen to anybody. This can happen to anybody. Trust me. If you have children, you're not discriminated against something like this. Even me. That was obvious. You had professionals, firefighters, and all these people in there. This can happen to anybody. Exactly. Hmm. That's why I tell you, and I started, and I said, parents are the experts. You're the expert of your own home, your environment, your child. You're the expert, not anybody. You are, right? Um, I definitely recommend that you guys watch this. If you have not watched it, watch it. And, come back and let me know your thoughts in the comments about what you think about this. Um, Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. I have a lot of questions, of course. I would love to see what the outcome is in September. I hope that there is, there are no criminal charges to this. This is all civil matter, which is unfortunate because there has to be. This was a crime, even though it wasn't like it. This is a crime. This is a crime against the family, against the society that they live in. These are crimes that happen to families, and it's so sad to me that we don't treat it as such. Be careful with the systems that you give power to. Be careful with anybody, whether it's a doctor, a judge, a lawyer, a CPS, where all these people. These people hold a lot of power to make. Just be careful. And of course, consult with your attorney if you have one, or yeah, and you're allowed to ask questions. And don't let anybody make you feel that your advocacy is somehow aggressive, because it should be. We should all be very aggressive about our children and our families, right? Regardless. It's a crime against humanity. Thank you. That's what it is. It's a crime. It's a crime against humanity, against society, against our children, against our families, or against your values, my values, whatever they may be. It's a crime against society. It is. It's against humanity, against us. Yeah, it was just civil, right? Peekaboo. Yes, exactly. All right, guys, I'm having to head out, but I want to thank you guys for watching this with me. And if you're watching the replay, if you haven't decided to watch it, watch it. I recommend it. A lot of you guys were pissed off and telling me, Rabbit, I'm pissed off about this. It's going to make you mad. But you know what the best part about being made mad is that you can actually do something about it. You just have to determine what that's going to be, you know? I will let you guys go. I have to head out because I gotta go tend to the bunnies over here. You guys have a great one. Rabbits out.